From becoming a household name with Wednesday to criticizing the work of scriptwriters, Jenna Ortega is under fire for publicly essing on the Netflix show's creators and writers. Steven DeKnight even said that he thinks she's being toxic. The Spartacus showrunner headed to Twitter and started replying to tweets left, right, and center. He shared a thread of tweets pointing out that Jenna is just 20 years old, so maybe that's why she doesn't know any better.
The only person who gets to torture my brother is me.
But he also said that she should consider how she would feel if the producers publicly talked about how difficult it was to manage her on set, or if they talked about how she refused to perform what they had written. To fill you in, Jenna recently sat down on the Armchair Expert podcast to reveal the reality of working on Wednesday. After the material didn't make sense to her, she became unprofessional on set. Most of the initial scripts didn't make sense to her. Like, the You actor couldn't understand why her macabre, obsessed character would do certain things or say certain things. So, you know what she did? She decided to take the matter into her own hands and rewrite the lines she disagreed with. Netflix's Wednesday helped her become a household name, so yeah, reverse the scenario, and hearing that from the creators or writers would have hurt her so much. Now, let's get back to the Daredevil showrunner. He continued his outburst and took a moment to point out that he's an admirer of Jenna's work, but her statement is just entitled and beyond toxic. And life's too short to deal with people like her in the industry. DeKnight also continued to say that she's just throwing her colleagues under the bus publicly. That's a big no for him. I also think it's kind of rude of her to just diss the team that helped her earn so much recognition and even a Golden Globe nomination. Anyway, DeKnight also added that he loves taking actors through their lines and stories, but the stars don't get to see the big picture that the showrunners and writers have developed for the show. So that's why some lines that don't make sense are there, but they do end up making sense later. The Smallville writer also shared his personal experience of working with actors who did some curl-toeing, outrageous stuff, but he never went out and name-dropped them in public. Coming up, he isn't the only one to call her out for her comments. Several writers got upset about what she said. Journalist Mark Harris said that there's nothing to worry about because after hearing her interview, all the writers would be looking forward to working with her. Writer Michael Sheridan chimed into the situation too. He realized that writers were getting upset because it seems like she was claiming that she knew better than the writers and Tim Burton. The comments are also suggesting that she's the reason behind the show's success. Sheridan was unsure if she meant that, but it seemed like that. Michelle Dean is a co-creator of Hulu's The Act, and she analyzed things just a bit more than everyone else. She thinks it's a whole other dynamic because she's just a teenager listening to instructions from male writers and male directors, and they're telling her how a teenager should behave. But some Wednesday fans were on her side. Fans on TikTok quickly pointed out that they were glad she got rid of cringe lines. The original lines would have made the gothic character sound like a pick-me character. They were convinced that the show would have been typical if she hadn't raised her voice. They were relieved that she saved the show.
She's a very distant cousin. Very distant.
Sounds like she doesn't see you for who you really are.
She sees more than you know.
Podcast host Jordan Crucchiola also supported her for not remaining a hostage. He hoped that she'd remain honest about her struggles in the future. Now, let me take you through the podcast where she blasted the showrunners over the material. She had to put her foot down on some creative differences. The 20-year-old actress also made it a point to mention something interesting. She didn't have to refuse material on any set as much as she did on Wednesday. She detailed that there were things that her pigtail braided character was involved in which didn't make sense, like everything she did or she had to play. Jenna admitted that she became unprofessional at times on set, so she would start changing lines while filming. There were a lot of contrasting points in the scripts penned by the writing team. She decided to brainstorm her ideas for her character, and that's what she started adding to her character. But hold on, let me tell you the shocking part. The Scream Queen changed lines without consulting insulting any of the writers. And that would confuse the script supervisor because they were supposed to film one thing, but it wouldn't go according to their plan. She would take a moment out to explain to them why she didn't agree to do that their way. The Stuck in the Middle alum detailed an example of an out-of-character moment. It was when Wednesday got the black vintage dress for the school dance. In the original script, she was supposed to freak out over it and then say, "I can't believe I said that, I hate myself." But the actor completely axed that out of the show. If you rewatch the horror show, you'll notice that her character remains silent, but she looks pleased to see the dress. That's how she took things into her own hands. Here's another thing she changed. Her viral dance scene originally started with a flash mob, and then she would join in and everyone would pick up her moves and dance with her. That seemed like something her character would never do, so she cut it out. The American actress also revealed the reason why she changed things. She was protecting her character. Jenna confessed that Wednesday saying morbid offensive stuff as a child was just hilarious. But now that this version of the Tim Burton directed show is taking on a teenager Wednesday, there's no excuse for her talking so rudely and being so grim. Like, it's just going to sound nasty. She revealed that Burton asked her to play the morbid character with zero emotions and expressions. She understood that he requested it for the humor, but she disagreed with him. Wednesday was the main character of the show, and to develop the whole plot and story, she needed to depict some emotions. People would have gotten bored to see a teenager with no mood swings. She did listen to others on set during the first month of filming, but then she felt unauthentic to her character. So she shut out everyone's opinions and just followed her character's arc. Now, she did remove lines and even switched up scenes, but she couldn't remove a really important plot element, the love triangle. Jenna specifically pointed out that Wednesday being stuck in a love triangle with Xavier and Tyler didn't make sense either. Unfortunately, she couldn't remove that from the script because the show needed it for the emotional arc. That's surprising, honestly. Anyway, now that season 2 is officially in the talks, she's hopeful that it's going to be darker. The actress is also looking forward to a love triangle-free situation. She's ready to accept a platonic, sweet relationship with Xavier and Wednesday. I'm still shaken up by her comments, though. The fact that she would publicly call out experienced writers for writing her character in a way that didn't make sense to her, Jenna is still a new face to some people. After all, the show's success helped her become a household name globally and earned her nods from accolades like Golden Globes, SAG Awards, and Critics' Choice Super Awards. That's all you need to know about Jenna getting slammed for her comments about Wednesday's writers.